listening to Real Love, Real Stories. And this, my friend, is a podcast to share love stories and also get tips on building meaningful relationships in all aspects of your life. This is your girl, Kanu. I'm the host and producer of the show, and I'm a therapist by training turned love guru. I am so thrilled that you have tuned in because without you, this wouldn't be so fun. So here is another great episode. Enjoy. Here's a word from our partners. So I love wine. If you know me, you know that I love wine. And recently I attended a wine tasting event with friends and we got to swirl, sniff, sip, and savor our wine. It was fun. So Real Love, Real Stories is partnering with Wines for Humanity. I love this company, you guys, because they have a passion for wine and a heart for others through their efforts of trying to eliminate homelessness. So if you want a wine that in turn helps others, then check out the link in the show notes. You can browse their selection, find out about hosting a tasting in your own home. And I know you're going to have so much fun that you are going to consider becoming a wine advisor. So click the link in the show notes for more details. Welcome back to Real Love, Real Stories, and thank you for tuning in. In today's episode, I am doing a follow-up story. So thank you so much for listening to the story I shared about my pet. And today's episode is actually centered around a question that one of my listeners or one of you guys asked me. And the question was, what would you do if your partner asks you to, choose between your pet and or the relationship? Now, this person did not specify whether the pet is a cat or dog or, a rabbit or whatever it is. I don't know. But all we know is she's kind of in a situation where she's been asked to choose between the relationship and a pet. So I love crowdsourcing, right? So I took it to Facebook and I asked the question, have you had to choose between keeping a pet or ending a relationship because your partner was either allergic to your pet or perhaps didn't care for it? Did you end the relationship or did you give up your pet? So I'm going to read a few of the responses that I got from Facebook. So here's the first one. And I'm sure you're going to tell, actually, I had about 48 responses and every single one of them is leaning towards one direction. So you're going to figure it out here as I go. So the first person says, my friend's partner was severely allergic to her cat when they moved in together. He saw an allergist and bought a HEPA purifier for each room. It worked. And yet, he rarely, if ever, interacted with her cat. One day, about a year later, she came home early. He was taking a nap on the couch, and the cat was on his lap, and he had been clearly petting it. So he came to love the cat more than her. They broke up a few years later when she found out that he was a serial cheater. Her cat followed her through 6 moves, 3 countries, 2 more relationships, including with her husband of 9 years and counting. Her beloved cat passed away peacefully 2 years ago at 20. A relationship will work if it's meant to, and both are committed to making it thrive and is independent of a pet. So you can tell where that one is leaning. So here's response number 2. My dogs come with me, and I honestly wouldn't be here without one of my dogs. And I've had guys tell me I needed to choose between them and the pets, and that made it easy. I chose my pets. I struggled pretty hard mentally a few years back and was considering driving my car into the river. I looked at him and I knew I couldn't take him to the pound. So I went and figured out myself. This one gave me chills, you guys, because it's like she was about to literally commit suicide by driving her car into the lake. But because her dog, she knew she needed to place it somewhere and the dog would end up at the pound. So because of that, she decided not to drive her car into the lake. I mean, I thanked this woman for sharing this because I'm sure it's hard to share something like that, right? So anyways, the third response, my pup was a great wingman when I was dating. If someone didn't like my dog or get along with him, it was a no go, and I wouldn't continue seeing them. I remember one time on a date with someone, after I told them how my dog broke my jaw, they said something like, I would have gotten a new dog. And she says, that told me a lot about him. So when I was dating my husband, there was even a magical moment when he asked if I wouldn't mind being his girlfriend, and my dog jumped up and gave him a kiss, even though ordinarily he was so slow to warm up to people. Aww. So in my relationship with my husband, seeing the relationship between him and the dog grow and flourish helped bring us even closer. Also related to the question, we got a cat together and my husband found out he was allergic. That was 2 years ago, and it's never been a question of getting rid of him. My husband just isn't as snuggly with our cat as I get to be. Oh, that's so nice. And then the fourth response, we had 2 dogs and a cat when I got pregnant. I developed a bad allergy to cats after I gave birth. I was told to get rid of the cat, but we didn't. I managed it for 16 years. I would wash my hands as soon as I pet her. She is gone now. She died when she was 22 years. But we have a new cat. We've had a new cat since. She invited herself and was a tiny kitty alone in the cold winter. Oh. And I do the same. I'm careful. I wash my hands and rarely take meds. It works for us. That's so sweet. Their cat died at 22, and then they found one that was cold in the cold winter and adopted that little kitten. That's so sweet. And then the 5th comment says, oh, my heart. Honestly, if it was such a deal breaker for my relationship, I would be a little turned off that he'd be willing to ask me to get rid of something that means so much to me and so much of who I am. 6th comment says, years ago, I had been in a relationship with someone who said I could either keep the cat or the relationship. Of course, I chose my cat. She's been with me for 12 years now through many relationships, moves, jobs. At the moment, she is napping on my bed. And then she says, P.S. My partner is allergic to cats. So we have a rule that cats do not come into our bedroom, and things work quite fine for all involved. So more of the problem is that my partner tolerates my pets, and I would say even likes them to some degree, but does not really love living with them, which is sadly a source of friction in our relationship. I thought that was funny that she said that they decided to not have the cat in the bedroom, but she commented that she was actually lying in her bed in her bedroom. So maybe the partner is not home, I'm not sure. So anyways, the last comment is very short and to the point. And the relationship immediately. I mean, there's like absolutely no story behind that, just end the relationship. No questions asked, like do it, So this was a very interesting question and to kind of think about, what would you do? And so I wanted to figure out like what are some of the reasons why people would ask you to choose, which is a very uncomfortable place to be asked to choose between a pet and a relationship, right? So here are some reasons. They're not all the reasons, but just some that I want to share with you. So number 1 is that your fur baby might have bad habits of urinating in the house, and it smells bad. That cat urine smell can be really bad and kind of put off some people. So that's 1. Number 2 is that just people have human allergies to cats. There's that protein that I will talk about in a little bit that cats have that people are allergic to. Not so much dogs, but cats. And then the 3rd reason is that they may just dislike your dog or cat or whatever pet that you have, especially if they shed a lot of hair, and especially if they're not using the right area to pee or poop. And then the fourth thing, most common, is that your animals might be damaging your belongings. And so your partner may not like that so much. So I'm going to go into what to do if your partner says the pet has to go. So if your partner says you must get rid of your cat or your dog, the first thing you do is to remain calm and have an honest conversation about the issue. You must first determine the exact reason your significant other is asking for that. So as I talked about earlier, that it could be that they're not happy with the bad habits that your pet has. And maybe they just developed an allergy. Just like one of the comments I read, where she was fine when she was pregnant, even before she was pregnant, and then when she gave birth, boom, an allergy started to cats. So, and then also that they may just dislike it for whatever reason. And then the last thing I shared is that, they may be damaging your belongings. So you really need to get to the bottom of it and figure out what the issue is. So if the issue, though, is that the pet is urinating in the house, on the carpet, on the bed, wherever it should not be urinating, you must first take your cat to the vet to determine if there's a medical problem, because sometimes there is something wrong with them, So take it to the vet and determine if there's a medical problem or not. If there isn't, you need to determine why your cat is urinating outside of the litter box, or a dog outside of, waiting for you to take it outside. Sometimes pets can feel stress. Maybe it's a move. Maybe it's this new relationship where you have somebody in the house and they just are stressed out for some reason, but you need to figure out what it is. So rule out any medical problem with the cat and then figure out what's really causing the cat to do this. If your partner, though, is allergic to your pet, you may be up against the most difficult decision to fix, especially cats. So I talked about the protein, right? So people are mostly allergic to a protein in cats. And that protein is found to be present in their saliva, in their urine, their dander, hair, so that can be difficult. So there are some things you can do, though. So number one, don't let your cat sleep in the same room as your significant other. I also shared a story from Facebook where she said they just decided their bedroom is a cat-free zone. So, just make sure that the room is off limits for your cats during the day as well. And, nothing exacerbates the allergies more than having the cat sleep in the same room as the person. So keep it in its own area and keep it out of the bedroom. Just make that a cat-free zone. So that's an easy thing you can do. And then number two, you can use a vacuum with a HEPA filter. I talked about that earlier. So that HEPA filter is that high efficiency particulate air filter, as defined by the US Department of Energy. So this type of air filter can remove at least 99.7, according to them, of the dust, pollen, mold, bacteria, and many other airborne particles. So not only is it good to remove the cat stuff, it can also remove all these other things. So it might just be good to get that in general, right? And then just make sure, like a no-brainer thing, like wipe down walls, because you know how some walls, it does trap dust and all that stuff. So just make sure you're wiping down walls, you're dusting places that you should dust, and just get rid of that stuff so that you're breathing fresh air. And then change the furnace filter as often as possible. Now, I don't know what the recommendation for this is, but look at the manufacturer of the air filter, give them a call, let them know that you have a cat allergy in the house, and you want to know how often they recommend that you change the filter. So that's what I would do, because I couldn't find any information really that pointed one way or another. So depending on your manufacturer of your furnace, just give them a call and find out. And then if your house has carpets, we all know that carpets can trap all kinds of stuff in it. Sometimes I do yoga on the floor with my yoga mat, on my carpet, whatever. But I get to see like things that I don't normally see when I'm standing up. So make sure if you have carpets, you actually consider to get rid of the carpet so you can put like hardwood floors where they don't trap all the dust, all the pollen, all that, cat protein and the dander and the everything else. So consider changing your carpets to hardwood floors or some other non-carpet option that you might have. And then also just a no-brainer. Maybe an allergy shot is all you need for the person who's got that allergy. So for the person who's suffering from cat allergies, that can decrease or eliminate symptoms over time. So why not consider that, right? And then if your partner dislikes the cats in general, well, that's going to be really difficult. But studies show that the main reason is that it's the cleanliness thing. So make sure that you're doing your due diligence to clean, to make sure your cat is going or your dog is going where it should go. So if the problem is inappropriate scratching, I shared in my episode about my cat that initially I didn't know. So my cat found my couch that was made of this, I can't remember the type of material, but it was very scratchable to her. So she just went to town on it and ruined my really beautiful couch. So until I figured out that I needed to get a scratching post. So find a great scratching post for your cat especially. And, they don't scratch like carpets or anything like that. They prefer a sturdy post that are covered in that heavy-duty corrugated cardboard. And you can find them at any pet store, really. They're not really aesthetically pleasing to look at, but put it somewhere where you don't see it, where your cat can just like go to town on it. And then make the surfaces like my couch that I said my cat liked to scratch. If I had figured out a way to make it unappealing for the cat to scratch, my couch would have been fine. So you can do so by covering the couch with some other fabric. And maybe that's what they end up scratching is that fabric. And you can also spray surfaces with cat safe citrus sprays. And or you can use some double-sided tape in those areas. It's not, again, pleasing to the eye to look at, but you're trying to make changes so that, your house is livable for you and the person who's allergic or just doesn't like because they're ruining the furniture. So make sure you make those surfaces unappealing for the cat. And then make the scratching post as appealing as possible. Like sprinkle that scratching post with some catnip. The cat will love it and will stay away from your couch or whatever other surface that you're trying to stop the cat from scratching. So remember, relationships are all about compromise and finding what works best for all members of the family, including your fur babies, right? So you're trying to find a way that works for you, the humans, and also for the pets. So, but if you absolutely must remove your cat from your home, maybe for reasons I did not cover, and also maybe for the same reason that I had to find my cat a new home, what you can do is what I did. I posted on Craigslist and I just said, I have a beautiful cat, included some pictures on there. I told them the story about how we got together. And this wonderful, wonderful woman who, if I were to guess how old she was, probably in her 70s, her granddaughter responded to my ad and I got to take my little kitty to their house. And I was there with her for 3 good hours because I wanted to make sure that this was a good home for it. And also that they were going to love, how you can just get the vibes from people. So I spent 3 hours with them until I felt in my heart that it was okay for me to leave my sweet little summer with this lady. So I have no doubt that she's being loved because that home just felt very good energy in that she is in good care with this lady. So yeah, I'm so grateful to all those who commented on Facebook and, and just made the point that all 48 people who commented, they say ditch the relationship and keep the cat. Or I'm adding find a compromise, right? So anyways, I hope to the listener who asked this question, I hope this helps. So take some of those steps and make sure that you do what you can, because it sounds like you love your cat. Just do what you can to make sure that you explore some of those things first before you make a drastic decision of either ending the relationship or getting rid of the cat. So there you go, folks. What a fun episode to do. And thank you so much for those that commented. And thank you so much to you for listening. Go ahead and share this episode with somebody that might benefit from listening to this. Maybe somebody is in a predicament right now where they need to choose between a pet and a relationship. So be a hero and send them this episode to them. Thank you so much for listening. Love always. Look at you, my friend. You made it all the way to the end. I'm so grateful. So the fact that you did make it all the way to the end, that means you liked this episode. So go ahead and be a hero. Send it to 3 people. And then go to iTunes where you can rate and review this podcast.